Welcome to the EdTech Throwdown. Join us, Eric Geis and Nick Johnson, as we dive into today's best EdTech tools, tips, and practices. We do the research so you can teach your class. Remember to follow us on social media like Instagram, X, or Facebook by looking for the handle @EdTech Throwdown. Now please enjoy the show.
Welcome to the EdTech Throwdown. This is episode 205 called EdTech Resolutions for 2026. In this episode, we'll talk about our EdTech tips and tools that we are excited to explore in the new year. This is another episode you don't want to miss. Check it out.
All right, welcome to the last episode of the EdTech Throwdown for 2025.
Thank God, you scared me for a second there.
So we're about ready to say goodbye to 2025, which for me, I'm welcoming that. I know personally, professionally, and everything else, it was a very challenging year. I had to work through a whole bunch of stuff. And now I feel like with the new year, and things kind of calming down, hopefully, for a bit, I feel like we could get back into the mix of things and maybe get back to, being a little bit more out there. I know we used to do 12 days of EdTech, and we did the 24 days of EdTech the one year. We did brackets, we did all this other stuff, but that stuff had to take a back seat in 2025. But one thing that doesn't need to take a back seat is us looking forward to 2026 and some of the challenges and some of the EdTech and some of the other things that we can get excited about. When I say challenges, I'm talking about EdTech challenges. But in today's episode, we are going to talk about some of our EdTech tips, tools, and resources that we're geared up for. We're ready to check out.
Yeah, I think I'm feeling positive too about 2026. I just think, 2025 was a crazy year for so many reasons that we don't have to get into on this show. And then as far as education goes, I think it's sort of hopefully slowing down. We're bouncing back fully from COVID. I know it's been many years since we've come back in full, but there was and is still a transition period from that, and I think people are settling in again. I think education is starting to figure out at least how to grapple with all this new stuff like AI and technology integrating every aspect of home life and school life, and maybe that's bad. So maybe we have to restrict phones and restrict social media, and just all this stuff is not solved, but I think people are starting to solve it and talk about it in the right way, or at least try things to help students' minds and teachers' minds, and I feel very good about that. And that's kind of the spirit of this episode. We do one of these at the end of every year, and sort of in the same way our summertime episode goes, it's just kind of looking ahead, setting some resolutions, if you will, about the stuff that we want to work on and check out. So stay tuned for some of our greatest hits for the upcoming year. As always, we're going to pause for a brief word from the Teach Better Podcast Network.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. You can find out more at teachbetter.com/podcasts. Now let's get back to the episode.
All right, so let's get into the main segment here. We're going to each share with you a EdTech tool, an EdTech tip, and an EdTech or teacher resource. And after looking at the show notes for this, I'm pretty excited to hear about a couple of yours, Nick. And why don't we get started with our EdTech tips for the year? And this is one that I'm kind of interested in hearing you talk about.
Yeah, so this is actually pretty cool. One of my themes for the upcoming year is going to be just trying to streamline everything. And we say this a lot, but how it's changing now is AI can do so much, and I do not want AI to do everything for me, but there's certain things that I hate doing that I'm very happy to let AI handle. I was telling you just last week that we took my daughter to the city into New York City for her birthday, And ChatGPT planned out the entire route in terms of travel. Like it told me the trains to take, it told me the subways to take. It even had walking directions through Penn Station, which were pretty insanely accurate when I was actually there testing them out. And that was good for me because I hate doing that. I don't mind actually physically going through all those travel steps, but I hate planning it out. It's such a heavy lift for my brain. And I'm going to offboard that. So that's kind of what I'm talking about here is anything I don't have to do, I want to get rid of that and let somebody else do it. There's these things now in Google Docs. Well, I shouldn't say now. They've been around for a while. They're called building blocks. And with a building block, you can, and if I think you get there by going to insert. So if you're hovering over your little Google Docs menu, insert building blocks, and then create a custom one. You can manage these custom blocks and they essentially become templates for your things that you generally do in a Google Doc. This is not AI. I mean, you could use AI, I guess, to help develop your templates. But mostly for me, this is just little stuff like I know the same format that I use for like a lab report or my Teachers Pay Teachers page. I've always got the same sort of a template. I can build these things out as building blocks within my Google Docs so that I don't have to keep typing those in every single time. It's possible all of our listeners are hearing me right now saying, yeah, I stopped doing that years ago. Like there's a ton of different extensions and apps that will do templates for you. And I've used many of those, but I usually end up stop using them when it's something external because they start to charge me or it doesn't work as cleanly as it used to. There's a million reasons, but I like building blocks because it's within Google, and we are finding that that's the key to longevity with tools is sticking within the platform itself. So I don't know, check it out. If you're like me and you've had trouble sticking with a templating platform, maybe this is the way to go. Again, that's insert building blocks and manage building blocks to set up some of these. Maybe it'll help you out.
It's funny because we did these independently. We typically pick a theme for the show and we give each other blank show notes to fill in. And I often do not look at yours until we're about ready to go over it because I like to be surprised when we do this as well. And you were talking about streamlining and simplifying. Well, on mine, I have for 2026, my big EdTech tip is to simplify tasks, boost engagement, and streamline workflow.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, so it's pretty much word for word, not word for word, but topic for topic that you just talked about. For me, I've noticed that when I create things that I'm going to recreate each time, you talked about templates. That's what I'm talking about here. I have a do now template that I typically use for all my do nows. I just feel like that uniformity helps students get into the tasks a lot quicker if it's the same. Now, the task itself is going to be different. What I ask them to do is going to be different. But that question of the day or whatever the do now is pretty much the same. For me, I used to do them every day. I used to do it as like a warm up to my day. I used to go in, do one of them at a time, do it day by day. But I realized by doing that, I'm wasting a lot of time because by the time I get in the groove of writing it, I'm already done with it. And then the next day I got to get into the groove. So now I take some time on Sunday night. I go in and I make my template for the week. Each background's slightly different. Whatever it looks like is slightly different. Usually I have it going with the current event. And I have them guess the current event or the topic at the end of the week, just as like a little fun thing to do. But now I'm doing all 5 at the same time. And what I'm realizing is if I did it independently, it's taken 20 minutes to do this do now. 10 minutes to do this do now. All right. But if I do them all at the same time, I realize that I could do them, all 5 of them in 30 minutes. Because I'm in the groove after the first one, and it's a lot of rinsing and repeating. So that's there. I also feel like not only does this boost my interest in it and allows me to be more creative because I'm in the zone. I feel like these activities really have the opportunity to set the tone for the day and then boost my students' engagement. So in order to do this, you need to reflect on what works for your students and you need to make changes to your teaching. All right? The content doesn't really change year in and year out unless you're doing some class that's based on current events. All right? Can change and what does change, your students, they change each year, and what makes them learn the best, So what we can do as teachers is reflect on that and try to figure that out as early as we can in the year and then start making changes to your practice to boost engagement. And then lastly is Streamline Workflow. And this is going along with making templates, but also figure out what parts of your teaching practice that you can do in bulk to save time, to get into that rhythm. What processes can you make? And that's going to be a theme to my 2026 is that streamlined workflow. And actually, the next two topics that we talk about today is also going to have to do with streamlining my workflow. So those are the three things: simplify tasks, boost engagement with reflection, and streamline workflow.
Cool. Those are, all great tips, and all goes, like you said, directly along with what I was saying, and I think it's a great place to be for 2026. The next one that I'll talk about, we're going to do our EdTech Tool now that we're most excited about. It fits in with that. I hope this isn't too much of a cop-out because we bring it up often. I know we did in our most recent episode, but it's what I'm going to be doing in 2026. So I just wanted to be honest about that, share it again. There are also some new things with this that I think we mentioned in the last episode too, but I'm going to say them again, only with the theme that I expect there to be even more. I'm talking about Google Notebook LM, which obviously is amazing. If you haven't used it before, you're going to want to go check it out right now. And if you are totally new, you pull in resources of any kind that you want, upload them, and then you can ask questions and chat about those resources. The best part is, and the reason it is my tool for 2026 is it creates things for you based on those resources. We've been talking for years now about the audio overview that it makes. It essentially builds a podcast between two people. So there's two voices conversing in a podcast style about the resources you've pulled in that is then shareable and downloadable to share with students as a study tool or as a way to engage with content. There's a video overview as well. It creates mind maps from the information. It creates flashcards from that information. It creates quizzes from that information. Here's the two newest ones. It'll make an infographic from that information, and it'll build slide decks from that information. So if you can imagine, all of these tools are super valuable. They allow you to differentiate with ease because now you can offer all of these different things to students that they can use depending on whatever modality works best for their learning style. You have your resources not perfectly made, but started for you like a slide deck and everything else. As I've said before, with a lot of these tools, I just wish that I wasn't 15 years into teaching because I already got so much of this stuff done that I made with my very own blood, sweat, and tears. And now...
Lots of tears.
Mostly just tears, let's be honest. But I can make it better, and I can just, continue to build things with ease. And I would fully expect Notebook LM to continue to add to the types of resources it will create. And I know a lot of this caters specifically to education because they certainly noticed that students and teachers were using this tool like crazy, and they're catering to us. So it's definitely one to watch for 2026 and the future as a whole. Google Notebook LM.
Yeah, I'm not going to bash you too much for the cop-out there. Because mine's even bigger.
Right.
But what I do like about Notebook LM is how many things that you can get out of it. You mentioned some, and as you alluded to, you think there's going to be more, and so do I. But there many different ways that you can incorporate those activities into your lessons. And once you go through uploading the supporting documents and things like that, then everything else is a click away. So if you think about how students learn, there are many different multiple intelligences that allow students to learn in their own way. And I feel like Notebook LM addresses a lot of those in the different products that you can, or different outputs that you can get from that product. So that's something to think about. And I love that. And, Notebook LM, I'm a fan ever since day one. I liked it since we first laid eyes on it. It was love at first sight. For me, like I said, I'm also copping out, but I want to work more with Canva code. All right. Canva code for me, even though I have been exploring it over the last month pretty heavy, what I'm noticing is there's a lot more to it. As I mentioned in previous episodes, especially way at the beginning, I am terrible at Google Sheets. All right. I'm not as terrible in Google Sheets anymore. I worked with Flippity, working with flippity.net, and that has helped me get more accustomed to, how to use Google Sheets. But now I get to take it to the next level with Canva code, and that's what I really want to tackle, is working with Google Sheets and Canva code in order to gamify my lessons even more. How can I bring data? And that's really where the Google Sheets things come in. I want more data. I want more data for my students to work with in order to enhance their engagement and understand what that data means when they learn about new science topics. So that's what I'm shooting for with Canva code in 2026.
That sounds awesome. And Canva codes, I almost listed that as mine. I'm glad I didn't actually, because then we'd both be sharing the same tool. But it's easy to focus on because it's so great, and especially the game part. I need to follow along with your adventures playing with the gaming, because I've seen like really simple games. Like I know you made that Jeopardy one that kind of runs itself for you in the class, and now it's all customizable and shareable and blah blah blah. But like, I think that deserves to be explored. So I'm excited to see where you go with it, and it's definitely worth mentioning. And I think now we will get to the last selection, which is a resource for 2026. What do you want to use as a collective, or a collective that somebody else has made, or one that you want to build? Mine is unique in this. I don't know if this is going to be too niche for our audience. I don't think so, because my guess is that if you listen to us, then you're comfortable in Canva and might want a place to go that contains how to do certain things in Canva, created by somebody who's not you, so that you don't have to worry about making these things to share with your students as they try to start a project, say. And that's how this is going to be most appealing, I think, to your average classroom teacher. But also, if there's any tech coaches listening to this today, if you've ever done any PD about Canva, there's so much you can do in this website, in this platform, that it's overwhelming for people to learn, and it's overwhelming for us to teach too, because it's like, where do you start? How deep do I dive? How simple do I go? So wherever you are with your Canva use, Canva has a collection of what they call cheat sheets. And cheat sheets are just that. They're little, like, self-contained, I guess they would actually be Canva lessons. They're part of the Canva Design School. But what makes them unique is that they're very small, very short, and they teach you how to do one specific thing, usually. Like, I'm on the Canva cheat sheets page right now, and there's one that says, connect Canva to your Google Classroom. This is a thing you can do, and Canva has put together the instructions on how to do it, so you can just share that out with whoever needs to know. That one, of course, would be for teachers. Here's another one. Deep dive. Give every student a voice with forms, right? If you maybe didn't know that Canva has its own, data collection form, much like a Google form. It does. This cheat sheet already exists to teach people how to use it. That, again, would be one for teachers specifically. On the student side, at the end of the school year, my AP kids are going to do another video project to have them design like like an Instagram reel or a TikTok as part of their final project. And they edit that in Canva. And the editing was a huge lift last year because I was trying to do all that teaching myself. One of these cheat sheets is Deep Dive Video Editing in Canva. And that's going to take a lot of the weight off of my shoulders because the kids that can handle that and are more self-sufficient will just go through the cheat sheet and do it themselves, freeing me up to help the ones that need it the most. And there's just tons of these things. So this is a great thing to just bookmark and save and like remember that it's there for the next time you might want it. We were just talking about Canva code. Here's another one that says, get to know Canva code, creating widgets for the classroom in Canva code. So just all these specific things. If you go to the canva.com/design school, you'll find these cheat sheets, or just head to our episode 205 show notes and scroll down to where it says Canva cheat sheets. We've got the link for you there as well, so you can get to it that way. But this is really cool, and I wish I had known about it for so many different things over the past, many years of teaching others about Canva. But now I know that it exists. So for 2026, it's going to be making my life a whole lot easier.
Yeah, I'm going through this and my mind's blown.
Yeah, it's good, right?
I had no clue design school was there. I knew design school was there. I didn't know what was inside a design school, and they really built this out.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Activities, videos, cheat sheets. There's courses. There are courses in this. Like if you want to go and learn about Canva for entertainment professionals, like content creators, you could do that. Scale creative images, you can do that. AI in the classroom, there's a course for that. So a lot of good stuff here. Yeah, this is awesome. I'm going to check this out.
Yes.
All right. For me, I decided that the other thing that I really wanted to do is I want to get more in tune with creating Gemini gems. So I decided that I wanted to make a guide on how to make a Gemini gem, and I want that guide to include different gems, examples for at least one per subject area. That's what I'm targeting, at least the core content subject areas. I did include like engineering, wellness, or phys ed, whatever your school calls it. A world language one. So I did geometry, I did English, a couple history ones, a couple science ones. But what I'm doing is making these Gemini gems. If you don't know what a Gemini gem is, it's basically if you would go onto one of those websites where there's the AI tool within the website. For example, Magic School AI has these. What are some of the other ones? Nick, Khan Academy.
Yeah.
Conmigo, I mean.
Yeah, there you go.
Teacher Server.
EduAid, did you do that?
EduAid.
Yeah.
All those. They have all these, I guess, AI widgets, AI tasks widgets. And a Gemini gem is basically just that. All right, so if I wanted to make a lab assistant for students where they can ask questions about the lab, I could upload a whole bunch of information into this Gemini gem and then create a lab assistant. So they could ask the lab assistant how to convert, or what if they need to make a solution, what are the calculations? How do you figure out the calculations? It's not going to give them the answer, but it's going to walk them through the steps so they can figure it out. So I made a lab assistant for biology. All right. With this, I wanted to simplify it so it's something meaningful. It will help you write your prompts to help create that Gemini gem. So what I did is I came up with PACT, P-A-C-T, which stands for persona. So we're going to give this job a title. We're going to give this gem a purpose. What is its purpose? So are you a tutor? Are you creating this type of a worksheet? What are you doing there? So that's the person, the persona. After that, you got to give that persona an action. So give it something to do. Grade this short essay. Grade this lab report. simplify the instructions to this assignment, or create instructions or highlight important concepts or instruction areas of this lab report. So that's the action. So persona, P, action A. Next one is C for context. Give it boundaries. What grade is it for? What level is it for? Are there any standards that go with that? If there are, upload those standards or provide the URL to those standards or copy and paste those standards in. The more context you give it, the better your output is going to be. And the last things we have is template. Give it a structure. Make a table or a list, or provide an email format, or if you're doing something and you need APA citation versus MLA citation, include that in there. Do you want it to be in a certain style? Do you want it to be persuasive? Do you want it to be informative? All this stuff put in towards your template aspect. So persona, action, context, and template. If you follow those 4 things, and then at the end you add one more additional thing, please ask any questions before you get started with creating this Gemini gem. If you do that, you're going to 99 times out of 100, you're going to get a quality gem that you can use, and you can share out to your students, you can share out to other teachers, whoever you want to share it with, you can do that. And if you all create those and you share them with one another in, just your workplace, then you're going to have a pretty good collection that everyone's going to be able to use.
I think that's cool, and I'm going to add two things to it. Besides just, I love the the acronym that you put together there, PACT, very cool. I helped a teacher last week kind of do what you just described, but we hadn't known about your new acronym yet. I wish I had. It's like an engineering and architectural design, just kind of does everything. And the teacher was looking for a way for kids to get feedback on this set of like engineering designs that they put together. So we made a gem where they upload a picture of their design, and we worked together to figure out like what parameters do I have to put in on the teacher's side so that the link gets shared with kids and they get some feedback. And we were testing it, and he was shocked that it worked as well as it did. All of this, by the way, started because he had them doing peer feedback, and he just wasn't super happy with it. So he was going to try incorporating this as part of that process to kind of help them, one, get some better feedback, but also maybe teach the kids about what types of feedback they can give. And it was cool. And as you were talking, it just kind of made me realize that we followed a similar process, and this just kind of lays it out for people. The other thing you can do as a teacher is you can bring your students in on the gem design side. Like, that is the project. Each kid creates a gem to do a certain task. So my chemistry students, they're the experts. You can assign group A to design a gem that walks other students through the process of, you choose, let's say drawing a Lewis structure for a molecule. Yes, the AI is there building that, but you still need a content expert to design the original gem with the correct prompting, to make sure that the product, the gem itself, to make sure it works. So that's where the students come in, and I like this, one, because it makes sure they're learning the content. Two, it kind of teaches them like why we still need content experts even in the age of AI, because the AI exists, but there still have to be humans to run it and to prompt it and to analyze it so it continues to get better. It's not just automatically perfect, and a project like that kind of gets the point across. So I love that, and that also I think is going to wrap it up. In general, everybody, we're sad to see 2025 go. It was a fun year, but it was a crazy year, and we are very excited to start fresh in 2026, both in our personal lives and education as a whole, and of course for this podcast. As always, thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening to the EdTech Throwdown. Do us a couple of favors.
subscribe to our podcast on any major podcast catcher such as Apple, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, and Stitcher. Go over to YouTube, search the EdTech Throwdown, subscribe to the channel. You can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. The show's handle is EdTech Throwdown. You can connect with Guise at GuiseGotTech, Nick at NickGotTech. You can write us an Apple Podcast review. You can tell your friends about www.edtechthrowdown.com. And lastly, go over and check out our friends over at the Teach Better Podcast Network, a network that we are so proudly involved with. Until next time, remember, go try some EdTech because we will do the research so you can teach your class.